Tonight, a local Nick Xenophon candidate in Whyalla feeling the heat as polling day draws closer, and kicking goals while the local footy community hopes more young girls get involved in the AFL.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. SA Best Giles candidate Tom Antonio is again being asked to defend his suitability for state politics. Last week, Mr Antonio claimed he never received a scathing letter from a company responsible for a solar investment project in Whyalla. However, emails obtained by Southern Cross News reveal Mr Antonio was sent the letter directly by Mayor Lynn Brewer. As South Australia prepares to go to the polls on Saturday, Labor is calling on Mr Antonio to explain himself. John Hunt has the story.
The battle for Giles continues to be a hotbed of claim and counterclaim after Treasurer Tom Koutsantonis last week brought a letter into public domain, which was scathing of Tom Antonio. In July last year, company SSE released an open letter saying it would have never invested in Whyalla if Mr Antonio had been in a position of power. Last Thursday, SA Best released a statement denying the claims by SSE, with Mr Antonio saying he had not received the letter in July, had only seen it recently, and would consider his own legal action after the election.
Do you plan to take any legal action? Have you got any plans there?
I'll wait till this election's over, but one thing I will not do is tolerate bullying and rubbish gutter politics.
Southern Cross News has since obtained the email sent by Mayor Lynn Brewer to both Mr Antonio's individual council address and a group email for elected members. The Mayor says she forwarded the letter on quickly after receiving it to ensure Mr Antonio and other council stakeholders were aware of it.
It was addressed to Councillor Antonio. It was also sent a copy to all elected members. Other councillors have told me that they received that letter.
Labor's Tom Koutsantonis says questions should be asked about why he denied ever receiving the letter.
Said to everyone on council that he claims he didn't see it. I mean, his email address is on the email.
Southern Cross News did meet Mr Antonio today. However, he did not wish to make any further comment on the matter. In a statement issued this afternoon, Whyalla Council has confirmed the letter was distributed to all councillors last July. It also says a further check of its records showed no evidence that the email failed to reach all of the councillors' inboxes.
A business has been damaged after a car crash in Port Augusta this afternoon. Two cars crashed on Flinders Terrace just after 1 p.m. before one careered into the side of the building. A witness told Southern Cross News he was helping the man to turn off his car before he accelerated into the side of the building. Police say a man was taken to the Port Augusta Hospital for treatment for minor injuries. 3 teens have been seriously injured after crashing a stolen car just metres from the Curtin Point Children's Centre in Port Lincoln. Patrols attempted to stop a stolen blue Mazda sedan on St Andrew's Terrace when they spotted it on Monday night. After a short chase, the car collided with a Ford 4-wheel drive at the intersection of Stevenson Street. The trio, all boys aged between 13 and 15, were taken to hospital while the occupants of the other car escaped injury. Officers say it's likely the boys will face charges once discharged from hospital. The rail track set to service Port Augusta's Bungalla Solar Farm site has been officially opened. Bowman's Rail and Seaway Logistics cut the ribbon on a new partnership at the intermodal terminal.
After months of trucks stirring up dust, a long-awaited solution has arrived.
And it's great for our region, so that encourages our economy. We get people to stay here that don't normally move here, they live here.
Bowman's Rail and Seaway Logistics today officially opening an intermodal terminal opposite the Bungalla site.
I now declare it open.
Using the existing Lee Creek Railway line, one single train will bring in a load equivalent to 100 trucks.
Rail is sort of coming into its own to be able to service and go direct to where the supplier needs the product.
And it's a fixed cost. Once we know your cost for the train, it's pretty well fixed, unlike the roads with the different fuel costs and everything else and all the different taxes and stuff that go with it.
Both companies believe it won't just improve the dust. Having this new rail service could make the region more attractive for new businesses.
I think there is some sort of building business that can go around it as well. So, yeah, it's sort of a build it and they will come is sort of our philosophy a little bit.
The first train is expected to deliver materials to the site this Sunday. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Construction on the Lucky Bay Port development will begin immediately after $115 million in funding was finalised. The port will support farmers on the Eyre Peninsula, reducing costs to transport grain, with talks now in place to secure the port for mining exports.
A bold promise for farmers on the EP.
The bulldozers will be on site next week and we're going to have a port ready for Eyre Peninsula farmers for this year's harvest.
After years of speculation about the Lucky Bay Port development, today many farmers received the news they've been waiting for.
This is real, it's going to happen, and we're really excited.
The new port will potentially cut transporting costs, saving nearby growers anywhere from $5 to $20 per tonne, making it an attractive export alternative.
I think this really impacts the farmer's bottom line. It will change the business model. We will save them hard dollars on transport costs.
Transshipping technology will be utilised by the port, saving nearby farmers the trek to Port Lincoln, with 366,000 tonnes already signed up for delivery.
We've got 120 farmers that have registered some interest to bring some tonnage to the Lucky Bay Port.
Farmers who initially supported the project will also divide a share of its ownership in hopes of sparking community appeal.
My experience when competition's introduced into any industry, quite frankly, the big winner out of that, the only winner out of that is the customer.
The EP's economy will receive a kick, with 80 jobs created during construction and 50 ongoing jobs once the development is complete. Discussions are being held with nearby mine projects to potentially export EP minerals to the world. Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
After the break, the Greek community in Port Pirie looking to close the gap between different cultures in the region. That story next. Flying in and out of Port Lincoln Airport during bad weather will now be safer thanks to 2 new antennas. A lightning detection unit will be installed to give ground staff and pilots better protection from incoming storms. The software will be installed free of charge by company UBMet, which will compile the data to better understand lightning patterns. It's hoped the technology will help minimise plane delays at all airports as well. The state government has shown its support to Port Pirie's Greek community by awarding it a grant. The community says it'll use the funds to close the gap between different cultures in the town.
Ensuring the traditional Greek culture lives on in Port Pirie for the years to come.
And it was just a great pleasure as the local member to be able to facilitate that grant for $155,000.
The Greek community receive a grant like this and be acknowledged for the work that we're doing and bridging the gap in our community. It's quite amazing. So the community was very overwhelmed.
The money will be used to help close the gap between different cultural groups in the town. The community says it'll lead to a stronger and more diverse culture.
It's important that we embrace all of the community, not just our own Greek community, but the diverse multicultural community that is Port Pirie today.
The Port Pirie Hellenic Club is one of the oldest in Australia, established 93 years ago.
First Greek community of South Australia and the second Greek community in Australia outside of Melbourne.
With that heritage comes ongoing maintenance work. The funding will also help the club prepare for its 100th anniversary of celebrating Greek culture in Port Pirie by renovating the Hellenic Centre.
We've got plans to develop some of that infrastructure and some repairs and refurbishment.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Well, the railways have always been a rich part of the Mid-North's history, and now a new museum in Crystal Brook is showcasing it all. It features historic photographs and videos of the train route, which was once an essential part of the state's economy.
Well, the railways, of course, were very important for the development of the state in the movement of crops and freight.
Operators say Crystal Brook is the perfect location for the museum, as it was once a hub for train spotters. Well, even though the grand final was held on the weekend, the cricket season in Broken Hill isn't quite over just yet. A charity game will be held tomorrow night, pitting the city's best players against one another.
An all-star game for a good cause.
All the best cricketers in town, they'll mix together in a couple of teams and put the coloured kits on and hopefully entertain the crowd.
The Jubilee Oval will play host to a charity 2020 game tomorrow to raise money for the Cancer Council Foundation. The All-Star charity match was first held last year to great success. Organisers are hoping for another strong night.
There will be a fair bit of music happening. There'll be a few competitions raised throughout the night, so there'll be a couple of MCs floating around the ground and interviewing people in the crowd and interviewing players, and definitely encouraging people to try and take some catches and yeah, get amongst it.
Residents are being encouraged to bring some chairs and eskies with them and watch some of the league's hardest hitters.
You get to see them, you know, hit the long bombs when they need to throughout the season. They've got 20 overs to do it this time round. So, like I said, you know, 20 odd of the best cricketers in town.
Broken Hill cricket is traditionally played on Saturday afternoons, so a match under lights is certain to test the players.
It's getting bigger and better each year, which is great to see.
Gates open at 6 o'clock with a gold coin donation for entry. Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Still to come tonight, Auskick returns to Whyalla with hopes more young girls will pull on a pair of boots. That's next. We'll find China and fashion were all for a good cause this morning in Port Augusta, with a local cafe hosting a Royal Flying Doctor high tea. It was all part of the RFDS's 90th birthday celebrations this year.
Brings the RFDS to the forefront. You know, it's not just about the sausage sizzles and about, you know, the raffle tickets on the streets. It's about doing something different. It's about bringing a little bit of spark back to the RFDS.
Organisers say that the funds raised from the tickets and an auction today will go straight back to the organisation's vital work. A local footballer isn't letting his serious injury get in the way of watching his teammates take a chance at a premiership. 27-year-old Ty Martin Page from Laura suffered a neck injury during a footy game playing for the Northern Territory Buffaloes earlier this year. Ty will be flying up to cheer on the boys when they take on Southern Districts this weekend. The trip has been funded by generous donations from the local community. Whyala's budding footballers are getting a head start on their road to stardom with the official return of Auskick. While the AFLW is making big strides, organisers hope the professional competition will inspire local girls to take up the sport.
For any professional sports person, there's always a starting point. Last night might have been the beginning for Whyala's next footy superstar and a come and try Auskick.
Just to promote footy, get the kids talking about footy earlier on in the season, and hopefully we can improve on the numbers. And
volunteers from local footy clubs ran a number of drills, focusing on kicking, handballing and tackling.
We're just concentrating on basic skills at the moment.
Local operators say events like Auskick will hopefully get more young girls interested in playing Aussie rules, following the launch of the AFL Women's League.
That's starting to really look ahead, and that's always on the up and up at the moment.
The local Auskick sponsor says the course will hopefully produce healthy and active kids.
Hopefully we can get a lot more kids involved in footy and, you know, off the couch, out of the house and being a lot more fit and healthy and active.
And judging by the kids' reaction, they'll be back.
I'm going to play again and I'll get the ball again.
Kept on practicing with the wind and I kept on missing and I kept on trying.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
To some more local sport now, and tennis is in full swing in both Broken Hill and Port Pirie. Patrick Reinke joins us with more. How are things shaping up on our courts, Pat?
Fraser, the Broken Hill summer tennis season is showing no signs of slowing down. This round saw 3 hotly contested matches, but with one-sided results. Top Spins maintained their top spot on the ladder, downing drop shots 3 sets 26 games to 1 set 13 games. Backhands were far too good for smashers, while forehands had to work hard to get over swallows. Kyron Slee and Peter Keenan played set of the night, with Kyron outlasting the Broken Hill veteran to win 7-3. Meanwhile, Port Pirie clubs are into their semi-finals. Trinity had next to no problem getting over Napa by 5 sets 34 to 1 set 27, while Railway Green just managed to sneak past Risdon Uniting by only 4 games. To baseball now, and in Whyalla, Tigers beat Indians 8 runs to 6 in the B grade, but Indians got the win in the A's, upsetting the Tigers 6-2. In Port Pirie, Cats Blue did enough to down the Panthers, but Tigers had the game of the round. They brought 13 runners home in their 13-3 win over Cats White. A special mention to Nathan Lynch, who scored a switch hit home run. That's when a right-handed batter switches to left-handed style. Moving on to softball now, and its semi-finals in Whyalla. Top-placed Eagles were unravelled by a hard-fighting Tigers side. Not many would have predicted that. And in the second game, Spears beat Roadies in a very high-scoring affair. Finishing off with some basketball now, and in Broken Hill, Ramjets beat North Bulldogs 53-45, while Sumpton Boys fell to Lost Scorchers. In Port Pirie, Ducks got a 2-point win over Tomcats, Patriots had it easy over Pacers White, and the original Pacers beat Globetrotters. And finally, in Port Lincoln, it was wins to Lincoln South Yellow and Peckers. And if you want your sports results on Southern Cross News, be sure to send them through to localsport@sca.com.au.
Thank you, Pat. Stay with us. After the break, we'll check the region's fuel prices, but Amy's here with the weather now, and Amy, temperatures seem to be slowly creeping up.
Indeed they are, Fraser, with those summer temperatures returning on the weekend. However, a change is on the way around the Spencer Gulf, and I'll have all the details next. Welcome back. Temperatures in Port Augusta are slowly creeping up. 29 the top there today, 25 in Whyalla, while Port Lincoln reached a top of only 23. Meanwhile, temperatures hovered in the low to mid-20s in all other centres. Checking the satellite, and the high pressure system passing over the state is continuing to keep skies mostly clear. If you're planning to spend some time on the water tomorrow, there will be southerly winds shifting southeasterly up to 20 knots. Seas will reach 1.5 metres and the sun will pop up at 17 past 7. Taking a look at tomorrow's conditions, and temperatures will gradually get warmer as we head towards the weekend. Port Augusta will reach 31, 23 in Port Lincoln and Coffin Bay. Meanwhile, temperatures will hover in that low to mid-20s and up into the low 30s for all other districts. Looking towards the weekend, and Port Lincoln will see a top of 35 on Saturday before showers on Sunday and a top of 27. Cleve is also in for a wet and windy change over the weekend despite the hot temperatures. Similar conditions in Woodna with a top of 39 on Saturday before a cooler 29 on Sunday. Further up the Gulf, and Whyalla, Port Augusta and Kadina can also expect the windy change despite the warm temperatures staying in the high 30s on Saturday. Slightly cooler on Sunday with temperatures hovering in the low to mid 30s. Similar windy conditions in Port Pirie and Clare on Saturday, while Broken Hill can expect a sunny 39 on Saturday before the wind picks up on Sunday with a top of 37. So Fraser, a weekend heatwave is on the way. However, the Spencer Gulf can expect a change after a week of cooler autumn temperatures.
Autumn is certainly in full swing. Thank you, Amy. Just before we go tonight, a look at this week's petrol prices. Here's Pat.
It's been a very good week at the Bowser, with petrol prices on their way down across all centres. Starting with unleaded, and with St Patrick's Day this weekend, the entire Spencer Gulf is seeing green. Port Lincoln is starting to see a drop in its price, but for now though, it's only a little movement. Whyalla is back down to $1.36, a drop of almost 2 cents. Port Augusta is a cent dearer, but also on the decline, while Port Pirie is performing remarkably at $1.32. Kadina has the same average as Whyalla, and Broken Hill is the only regional centre to not see any movement. Adelaide rounds out the board with a big drop, the price now sitting at around $1.26. To diesel now, and it's been a relatively quiet week. Majority of the Spencer Gulf has seen no movement. Port Lincoln, Whyalla and Port Augusta are all hovering in the high 130s. Port Pirie and Kadina are a tad less expensive, but not by much, while Broken Hill still remains close to $1.40 a litre. Adelaide motorists are very happy right now. Their price just ticked back down into the 120s. Now remember that these prices are the regional averages and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. If you happen to find a spot that does sell unleaded or diesel for cheaper, let us know on our Facebook page.
Thank you, Pat, and that's the local news tonight. Thanks for your company. Enjoy your evening. Good night.